The following podcast contains strong language and mature themes.
At the end of the last episode, we finished abruptly. Things are getting a little bumpy here. We're investigating the death of Kenny Goldsmith, a civil servant from back in 1984, whose body was found in the local forest. So join us for the series, The Body in the Woods. And you find us in the middle of chaos. Someone attacked Marie, and we're not sure if it was related to the case. But as we're digging up new evidence, more people are beginning to get unsettled. Could it all be coincidences? It's a busy day, so I have Dad's car to assist me in getting around. And I need to find somewhere to park. Fortunately, it's early and there are still some spaces around. This morning I'm popping into the museum and then I have a meeting with Scarlett Drayton at the paper. Just me this week, so I'll be a busy bee. I've just parked outside the museum. I needed to pop in to pick up a copy of the town booklet. I was supposed to pick up one last time, but it ended up slipping my mind. I have so much to do today, but I think I can squeeze in this visit first. Oh, and I need to pick up some petrol. I better top it up later. So I've entered the museum and I'm heading to the bookshelf. Hopefully they have a copy left. Not many people in this morning. Ah, there it is. Just have to pay for it over at the main desk. Hi.
Hello.
Can I pay for this?
Yes. That will be $5.99, please.
Here you go.
I recognise you. You were here recently, weren't you?
Yes, we are making a podcast. We were looking at the history of the town.
Ah, yes. Local muckrakers. What dirt are we digging up this week?
I guess you'll have to listen to the podcast to find out.
Oh, I will. Your book, miss.
Oh, thank you. So we've had a bit of a change of plans. Scarlett's told me not to come to the Gazette and she sent me a Zoom link instead. Okay. Oh, hi, Scarlett.
Hi, Gemma. How's the podcast coming along?
Not hit the millions yet, but the figures are slowly rising.
No partner today?
Marie's at home at the moment. She's not feeling well.
I hope she's okay. I understand you have some more questions. Let's see if we can help.
Brilliant. Marie got to chat to Kenny's wife, and she's under the impression that Kenny was in the area investigating something about a farm. Does that make any sense?
Not really. We genuinely didn't know he was investigating anything at the time. It was some time before his identity was released. By then, our involvement had ended, as it had been hijacked by the broadsheets. I think one of the other journalists did something on the 10-year anniversary, and even then, there was little to add to the story. although we toned it down a lot.
Any idea as to what he could have been investigating?
Don't recall anything significant at the time. It was the minor strikes that were occupying the press back then. You have to remember that, back in 1984, this was a rural community. It could have been anything from sheep rustling to dodgy dealings at the cattle market.
So, we can definitely rule out any sex-related activity to this story.
That was completely made up by me. And I would like to say to his wife that I'm sorry for any distress I caused over that.
Do you,
Are you okay? You seem to have something else on your mind.
When I went to university, I studied journalism, but for one reason or another, I never managed to break into it. It's eluded me. Can you give me some advice?
If we were having this conversation 20 years ago, I would have happily said submit your CV, especially after following your podcast and your progress. Do you want me to be blunt?
I guess.
Okay. Let's start and say I would hire you. But now the world has changed. This morning, I saw the most amazing thing.
What did you see?
And that's the problem.
I'm not following.
Clickbait news.
Oh.
We used to have 10 people in here. Now there are 3. And one of those is a floater. Journalism hasn't changed, but the interaction with journalistic products has changed, along with the technology behind it. It's forced newspapers to offer something different to attract audiences. People don't buy newspapers now, with most of the content being online. Most sites are using some form of clickbait-type articles to get people in. It's the only way we can make any money. I've seen articles about what a contestant did on a game show. Lots of stories that are mundane and not really news, wrapped up as if they were.
I have to say, I don't like some newspaper websites. So many videos and promotions and expanding adverts. It sometimes brings my laptop to a halt.
And we have no choice, as we're part of a franchise. We all have to use the same website engine. Our hands are tied. Do you know how we get our stories?
Not the obvious way, then.
Most are taken from the news archive that we subscribe to. Some are shared between our sister papers. Many are pre-written by the submitters, and only a handful are written by us. There just isn't the time anymore or the personnel to cover lots of stories.
I knew it had changed, but I hadn't realised it was that much. Admittedly, the paper we had work experience with during uni was much larger. So there's no future in journalism then? Seems like a bit of a waste of 3 years.
It's certainly not a waste. You can go into other online media blogs, but you must write loads of articles to make any money. I just think you need to think outside the box a little bit more. Let me say just 2 words to you.
Go on.
Private investigations.
That's a thing? I thought that was just in movies or just in America.
There are a few PIs dotted about in the UK. Have a look online. I think there are courses you have to do first, but you could set up your own agency.
Okay, wow. I didn't expect to go that way. But thank you for being honest and for the careers advice.
You remind me of me when I first started. Tell you what, I'll write an article about your podcast to help you garner some more interest. What do you think? I'll let you read it first, before publication.
Promise?
Promise. And it's on tape.
Thank you, Scarlett. I hope I do justice to the story, but it won't be a patch on the work done by the likes of Michelle McNamara.
That name rings a bell. Wasn't she the American true crime investigator?
Yes, she was. Died a couple of years ago, but her legendary investigative work really helped the investigation into the Golden State Killer.
Well, I see no reason why you couldn't be just as successful.
With that, I headed back to the studio. Scarlett had made me feel more positive about the case, even though things were looking bleak. It was that negative confirmation again. But with an old case, confirming something didn't happen is just as important as finding the truth. Doesn't help move the case forward, but I guess it stops us from going down different rabbit holes. Hi Billy, is my dad here yet?
Hi Gemma. Yeah, he's through here.
Cheers. Hi Dad.
Hi Gemma.
It's great to see you. Are you home for long? I didn't think you were coming back for a while.
No, this is a flying visit. Heading back out later. I wasn't intending to come back, but something came up.
Nothing serious, I hope.
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't follow.
This podcast you're doing.
Yes, good, isn't it?
I want you to stop it.
Why? I don't understand.
I didn't expect you to be digging up old family events. I don't want people knowing about our personal lives. It's history. Our history. It's not for public entertainment.
It's not about our personal lives.
I didn't expect to be hearing about my wife's death. What's worse was that I had a colleague tell me all about it.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
How could you do that? Do you know how hurt that made me feel?
In my defence, it was unintentional. I stumbled over Mum's grave and it caught me by surprise. And maybe I shouldn't have added it to the episode. I guess I was just trying to be as authentic as possible to the listeners, giving the listener something to relate to.
I want you to stop the podcast and delete everything already published.
I can't, Dad. We're doing this for a reason.
You will end this. I will be home in 3 weeks, and I want it all gone by then. If it's not, we'll discuss follow-up actions when I return.
Please don't make me. Oh, I need tissue.
Are you recording our meeting? Really?
I didn't realise. It's a force of habit now. I'm sorry, Dad.
I don't recognise you anymore.
Please don't.
3 weeks.
Are you okay, Gemma? I heard raised voices. Anything I can help with? Have a tissue.
Thank you. I've really messed things up. I never thought my dad would listen, and I didn't think he'd object to what I'm doing. I thought he'd be proud of me.
I've been listening, and I think it's brilliant.
Have you ever listened to any other podcasts, or are you just biased?
What about it? I like what I like.
Thank you anyway. What am I going to do? Dad's told me to cease the podcast before he gets back in 3 weeks.
Well, you know what to do then.
I don't follow.
Wrap it up in 2 weeks.
We wouldn't manage it in that time, and we don't know where it's leading.
Give it your best shot. This could be your only chance to have access to all this kind of material. Just remember, you're doing this for Kenny and his family.
You're right, Billy. As always, you're correct. I suppose I better get back and carry on then.
Hey, Gemma, if you solve it, I'll hold a party here for you.
Better start ordering in then.
Come in.
Hi, Marie. Are you okay to chat?
Hi, Gemma. I'm sure I can manage a quick session.
You look much better.
I feel better, thanks. Just nice to have a visitor.
You got a great response from Sharon. It's brilliant news that she's backed the podcast and is going to send over the files.
It's a big turning point for us. Hopefully we can find out what actually happened to Kenny and just bring this whole story to a close.
The end of a dark period for this town.
We don't seem to have many bad stories here. You rarely hear of anything bad happening in this town on the news.
I don't think we're worthy enough for any coverage. I think Cambridge gets the main focus.
Probably. I've just been spending time here with not a lot to do, so I've been going back through old news reports. How did your chat with Scarlett go?
Didn't really learn anything new. She confirmed the article was completely made up, but she can't think of any reason Kenny would be investigating the area at the time. Oh, and she said she's going to write a promotional piece about our podcast to drum up some more listeners.
That sounds good. Next step, loose women on ITV?
Oh, God.
So, what's next?
Well, I had thought about suspending the podcast for a week.
Really? Why?
First, to give you a chance to get some rest, so you can get back to the show. Secondly, it will give me time to meet Sharon and collect the files, and then go through them to see if they cross-link to the police files. And thirdly, I want to go through the other police investigation reports and sort out all those files. See if anything else links to this case and sort out possible future investigations. And it would give me a chance to have a breather and get my head around this case. I really feel like we're heading towards the end now.
You might be right. As much as I don't want to miss an episode, we do have a lot of material to get through. I guess it would make sense for a short break.
Well, that was the plan.
Go on, out with it.
I saw my dad earlier. He gave me an ultimatum to end the podcast because he doesn't want his family history talked about on air.
Okay. If that's about your mum, that was just because we found the grave. It's not like we're doing deep dives into your family tree. This isn't like a Kennedy Fisher podcast.
He said I needed to be stopped by the time he comes back in 3 weeks' time.
Well, what are you going to do?
Keep going. This is for the Goldsmith family, not for me.
Fuck yeah!
Excellent.
Well, I've had a chance to listen through the whole podcast a couple of times. It's certainly improving each week. Are you okay? You look like you have other things to say.
It's been an emotional day, to be honest. And I got insulted by the lady at the museum. She called me a muckraker.
That's a bit harsh.
I then visited the newspaper office and Scarlett dissuaded me from being a journalist. But, to be fair, she did give me alternatives.
You've always been set on being a journalist. What did she suggest then?
Private investigator.
Now that sounds cool. Gemma Kingsley, PI.
No.
No, I think you should follow that up. I'd work with you. Gemma and Marie's detective agency. That has a ring to it.
Okay, well, I'll put that on the back burner for the time being.
Anything else?
No, that's it for today. I don't think I can take any more. I'll let you get some rest and I'll be back to see you in a couple of days.
Thank you for coming.